Support for this podcast comes from the patrons at patreon.com/FMLFPL. Okay! Look at FMLFPL Milan.
Walsh.
The OKs are back.
Yeah, you're fucking back fit.
Back, match fit, feeling good, looking good. FPL
Well, I didn't go that far.
Hey, come on. FPL not so good.
Fuck FPL, dude.
Yeah, you're kind of tanking.
I'm done.
Yeah, but you're going to get a really high draft pick next season.
Yes.
That's huge. People underestimate that, but that's how you rebuild a franchise.
Tank for Tua. Ever heard of it?
Let's look at this fucking disaster.
Get this off the screen. No one wants to look at this.
Look at this. What are you up to? With the hit.
No, Don't let them see that.
Oh. You don't want to talk about your transfers? Oh my God. I should have pulled up the Discord messages that you sent me, because what did you send me? You were like, I think it was like a matter of 5 minutes difference, but you DM me on Discord from Colorado, visiting Derek, friend of the pod Derek, and you were like, I'm just gonna save in honor of Derek, it's what Derek would have done, blah blah blah. And then the next time I open Discord, it's just JK took a hit, fucking Jesus and Tomiyasu in, Callum and Sufal out. Bad news
just
bears.
Lighting points on fire.
Yeah,
running backwards as fast as I can, doing my thing. I'm busy. Yeah. I'm busy doing stuff. Yeah. Team's a mess. Solanke injury today was very bad.
Yeah.
Jesus missed some things. Of course they conceded a goal, so that those transfers were complete disasters. Should have hit in a player who didn't play, so I would have gotten Andreas in. Obviously, that was an issue.
Yeah, everyone who hit in Darwin
absolutely flying
with Andreas. It's just like, it's such a stupid fucking game.
It's good. So everything's going badly and on Team Walsh over here, but you know what? Doesn't stop me having fun playing a game, chatting with my buds. Man.
That's what it's all about.
That's what it's all about. What about you over there? How are you doing?
That's the end of the Walsh segment, I think. Tank for Tua.
Please make it be the end.
Never again. Yeah, so similar to you, I should have transferred in a player who didn't play. I would have got the Pereira first on my bench. I wish I got anything for being like, I put Pereira in front of Dom on my bench. Like, that was a really good managerial decision, but didn't matter. Cess, I called the start correctly, 0-pointer. Gahey, 0-pointer. I should have probably considered, in hindsight, Pereira over Gahey, but it's Everton. It's the top 2 clean sheet fixture in the league, but away from home.
That I think was a definite manager error for you. I'm surprised you didn't. Oh yeah, I wish you messaged me. I didn't. I mean, it wouldn't have even been a consideration for me.
I think Everton.
I started Gahey over him. If it was home, maybe we would have a conversation.
If it was home, I wouldn't have even remotely considered the alternative. Like, I had Gahey 100%, like arguably best clean sheet fixture in the league. But away, I probably should have looked at it more. Didn't really think too much about it. I feel like the way this season is, it's like
big swing for you.
Yeah, though. I mean, that's a -10, so it's fucking huge. I got 53. I went down 50K. I would have been on fucking 63, and I would have went up. So it's just like an absolutely massive difference. At least we both capped Holland, so that was not really a consideration.
Yeah, at least we're not doing that. Holy shit. If there's one thing that we have learned, at least it's that.
Yep. So we got that going. I only went down 50K. Not that bad. My team's okay.
I wish you sent me a message about it, but I guess you weren't that close, because usually you do when you're
I wasn't
close
that close.
I'm not sure. Yeah, that's too bad. Okay.
I mean, Pereira points, it's just really hard to predict Pereira points, I mean, it's hard to count on 2 goals, essentially 2 from set pieces. One was technically open play, but it was right after a corner. The ball just got recycled back to him, and he crossed it back in again. Not that I didn't think it was a good fixture. It's just that, like, Fulham have a lot of good fixtures that Pereira doesn't score points in, They scored 3 goals last week. He didn't get a fucking return. They score 3 goals every fucking week, and he usually doesn't get a return. It's like, so I didn't really consider it, but yeah, should have done.
Yep.
He's just so ridiculously good. It's a shame that there's not like a third premium that we really like or more money. I want to spend more money and start Pereira every week. Like in another season, we would all be doing that, but there's just not really another premium that's like flying.
Yeah.
Let me do league updates. Shout out to the 3 Prize League Mug League leaders for October so far. Is it one more game week in October? Yeah, one more game week in October, so close. Scott Hutchby, a.k.a. FC Squote, in first place. James Thompson, a.k.a. Danger, here in second. And 3 tied for third as of now. Dimitri Kabatsky, a.k.a. Goblin. Jamie Bakewell, a.k.a. Payne in Diaz. And Steven Atuka, a.k.a. Blink-182. And then shout out to the leader of the public league, Max Heinsius, a.k.a. Mexi. Good job by you guys. Somewhere you want to start?
No.
I don't know. It's kind of a fucking bad week, huh?
The games were fucking terrible.
I had a hard time staying awake in some of the games this week. I was not having a fun time watching games.
Should we start it with your fucking piece of shit ass team?
Not a bad result.
Story?
Yeah, I mean, all the questions are just about Mo. Because none of the other good Liverpool players started the game. And Josh B said, is there any good reason to not rip Mo out? Einar wrote a fucking love letter to Mo. He said, Mo's killing my gains, got me by the scruff of my balls, and I can't get away. Keep thinking there's going to be a change, but my faith and hope can only be tested to a point. My therapist says it's time to take a stand, but I'm afraid. I know he'll hurt me like he's done in the past, and the most fucked up thing is that I somehow still love him deep down. My dear Salah, I'm thinking about a -4 bringing in Kane. What are your current thoughts on Mo? And then Sunat said, do we hold Mo for home leads? Did we learn anything from the Forest game?
I'm interested to hear your thoughts because...
Yeah, I just don't think we learned anything from the Forest game. I mean, the arguments that I was getting into on like Twitter and shit about people who cap Mo because he's playing central, I was like, I don't give a fuck if he's playing central, if that's the team, if that's the 11. It's like the worst 11 in the last fucking 4 years. It's like that is what we start in the FA Cup games. That is not what we start in Premier League games. Third game in 6 days, 60 hours off, everyone hurt. Everyone's panicking. Everyone in Liverpool world, Anfield Rap, Discord, panicking. I'm just like, whatever. Like kind of a whatever game. Didn't really expect. I immediately bet on Forest when I woke up. 7:20 in the morning. I looked up the lineup. I was like, okay, fucking insta bet on Forest as underdogs at home, rested. Easy result as far as I'm concerned.
So where does that leave? Where does that leave you looking at him as an FPL pick for the next few game weeks? Leeds,
I think
Spurs,
it depends.
Southampton.
Yeah, I mean, it's like 1 week at a time, but we'll see in the Champions League if guys are fit. Like if Thiago can play, if Darwin can play, if Hendo can play, if Trent can play, etc. If guys are fit, I'm definitely keeping him for home leads.
Well, they're going to be fit for Ajax, and then they'll be sat and rested at the weekend again.
No, because they have actual time off.
Do they?
Yeah.
They have like 3 days.
Yeah, that's a lot more than they've had the last 3 game weeks.
Okay. So I'm still not following exactly on where you're at. So you think he's a good pick dependent wholly on the fitness of the rest of the team?
Yes.
Okay. So when they're
at home, they've been good all year, and away, they've fucking... This guy tweeted out that away, they haven't even led in a game away all season. Yeah. 0 minutes
no problem.
In a winning position versus Fulham, Man United, Everton, Arsenal, and Forest.
Yeah, I mean, that's very typical of a mid-table team, right?
No, it's not. Not even a mid-table team is typical of. But, at home, they're still doing well. Scoring a lot of goals. Home leads, still a really good fixture. Yeah, I think he's still a good pick for home leads. Unless he's hurt also, by the way, which he might just be hurt.
Yeah, I feel like I'm being held hostage by him, and I have done for a while. Like, I'm just imagining the other world where he doesn't bang a hat trick against Rangers, and I just don't have him as I had planned it initially, and I'm just so happy. I mean, he's still almost a $13 million.
Well, you did get rid of him.
No, I know. I went like a sheep, the sheep that I am, to go right back. But, I mean, he's still a 13 million asset, returning as though he's, a 7.5 asset. I don't, the fitness of the team, I agree with you. That obviously matters a lot. They're playing, two 19-year-olds in the, in the front six positions. That's not going to, go well against any Premier League side.
I mean, but Curtis, to me, is like the most shocking start of all of them. It's like,
he hasn't played anyways.
He hasn't started since fucking May or April, and he's just in there. Okay.
But, I just look at it, and, you do have some good fixtures, but you're not feeling confident that he's going to just be getting points just because they have good fixtures. That's not, that's just he's just getting by on reputation to me from at this point based on what we've seen from him over the course of the season. I think also, though, that the bigger issue is where do you go? We're talking about Kane, like how many headers is he going to score on the fucking 1 yard line in this season? Like he's already had like 4. I feel like he had maybe 0 last year. I don't know these goals.
Yeah, their set piece coach is like MVP of the fucking team.
Yeah.
They'd be on like 2 points without him.
Yeah. And he looked good against Newcastle. I thought he had a couple good shots. Like it's back to. I mean, I know I said this like a month ago, but like Kane's going to stop. He's not stopping. It seems absolutely insane. Hold Mo if you can turn him at this point. It's just ridiculous to me.
Yeah, with the Dom injury too, I think opens up because we're not the only ones on Dom. I think he was really trendy before the good run. So yeah, I mean, I don't know the severity of the injury. It looked pretty bad, but I'm sure people are going like Mo and Dom to Kane and fucking Miggy or every budget mid scored this week, so I'm sure everyone's jumping all over that. But yeah, I have no problem with that. I mean, it's what you said is kind of like why I don't feel like I'm held hostage, because like the rest of my team is just really good. There aren't like 2-3 other players that I'm like I need them or my team sucks. Like I'm losing points to these guys every week. Like blah blah blah. I wish I had these guys. I look at my team and I'm like, yeah, like Mo's not worth it, clearly. And there's not really anyone that I'm like dying to transfer in for him. Like both things are true. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay.
So home Leeds, I still think it's a good fixture. I mean, you say he's just surviving on reputation. I mean, he has 58 points. It's not like, he's at 5 points a game. He's a 200-point player right now. Worst season he's ever been in FPL. No question about that, right? But yeah, we're talking about him he's a mid-table fucking 7.5 mid. He's on pace for 200 points with no pens. It's like it's just not true.
He's 13 million. I mean, he's 13 million. So
I agree, he's not worth it, but he's not getting points.
No, he's not blanking every single game. He's blanking 2 and 3 recently. But you look at him against just the top 10 midfield picks. He's just whatever. I mean, if he was priced 8 and his name was Saul Smith, he'd be like whatever. I don't know if you if he's just some random guy and we're watching him play this year, irrespective of his previous, we would be nowhere near him. I think that's what I mean in terms of, how patient we are with him and which not to say that there's something wrong with that inherently. He totally is the player that he is. But I think, you do need to kind of cash your chips in at some point and rely on what you're watching because, he's playing all the games, but when you look at his returns, he's still not getting bonus points. One double return with a goal in the game week 1. He has a 12, a 10, and then he's got all these singles, and that's just not good enough for the most expensive player in the game. And, would I rather have Saka than him right now? Yes, absolutely. Do I think that it's worth a transfer? It depends on the rest of your team. Sure, all that stuff, right? But, to sit here and say like, oh yeah, he's a good pick, don't worry. doesn't make sense, right? I mean, you should worry because he's the most expensive player in your team, and there are a lot of good picks in the game, but he's not getting it done from my perspective. So
yeah, I'm just firmly in the talking about more my team, I think, than talking about everyone else's team. But there aren't players that I'm dying to get to replace him, and I don't agree that if he was like 8 million or 9 million and named fucking Gianluca whatever. Any name, insert any name, we wouldn't be all over him, right? I mean, he ticks a lot of the boxes that we would want out of an FPL asset, even if he wasn't Mo. He's half an XG a game. He shoots 3.5 times a game. He's on pens. He's creating chances. I'd be like, this guy's great. Like, this guy has double, triple returns in the future. I wouldn't be like, this guy looks bad, so I'm not going to get him. I'd be like, no, this guy's potentially going to score a ton of points in FPL. It's just... I agree. This whole thing for me is I agree he's not worth the value. And I have no problem at all with anyone getting rid. I don't think it's anywhere close to a normal year where we're like, oh, you're going to get fucking punished by Mo. No one's even capping him. No one's even considering capping him. Well, you shouldn't be. So I have no problem with any of that shit. But for my team, I'm just like, yeah, home leads is good. So just not even like looking at it yet,
Yeah. Okay.
Let's talk about Spurs and Kane and the Newcastle match and whatnot. Bolter said, are we all idiots for not having Kane, regardless of how good or bad Spurs are? Catfing said, for those dummies with Mo, Kane/Son seem like good options to get instead. Obviously, Bournemouth seems like a fixture Kane will bang, but the next two are Poole and Leeds, which seem more like Son fixtures. Is it overthinking to want to go Son over Kane next week? Or is Kane just a good player, good pick last 3? Dude, Son is having such a weird season, I feel like. Like, again, he had, 2 massive chances against Newcastle. He just, fucked them up. I don't know. I do feel like I'm sort of waiting for the moment where it's Son is about to start fucking banging and everyone should get him. But it does feel like it's just Kane's world, right?
Yeah, you're just overthinking it.
Yeah, I think
getting Son instead of Kane, it's ridiculous, honestly. Yeah. I mean, you look at Son's season, he has the hat trick off the bench and he hasn't scored otherwise. And he's played a lot of games. He's played all the games chances. Basically. Yeah, but this is similar. Mm-hmm. I think it's very similar to Mo, honestly. It's like you're watching just like it stinks. There's some stink going on and I don't really give a fuck about the shot numbers and the underlying XG. That's great. But when I watch the player, it's like, what, this guy's fucking has 2 left feet or something. It's like, it's just a dysfunctional mess. And it's not what I'm used to. So, when we play this game of small sample sizes, I think we should put more value on what we're seeing now. And, will he turn it around? Yes. He's not going to finish the season with 6 goals. 3 goals. I mean, he's going to score goals because his son, and he's playing in an attacking position on a good team. Well, in air quotes, a good team, right? He'll score some more. But this again, right? It comes back to Kane. Watching Kane, he has had better performances, I think, lately from an FPL perspective. Upwards, for sure. Yeah, he's been shooting more, and he created a lot of chances against Newcastle.
He's their only guy who can pass sometimes.
Right,
sometimes you watch Spurs, and it's just like, Jesus Christ,
But it's, he has 10 goals. I mean, he scores every game. He has 17 bonus points already, which is insane.
Yeah.
It's just, he's just having this charmed season, and he's getting these breaks that are absurd and it's not sustainable, but he's sustaining it. So what are we doing instead? We're crossing our fingers to hope that Thiago and Hendo can play in the midfield, therefore Mo gets all these points. No, Mo looks bad. Other than Kevin and Haaland, there's nothing else out there. So, it's just Kane's looks inevitable every game, and he's finding a return every game, and he's just coming in with points. I think it's an absolute no-brainer.
I'm just looking at Kane goal. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 corners, 2 pens out of his goals.
Yeah, which is just absolutely insane. That's 7 of 10.
So he has fucking insane.
He has 3 goals with his feet from open play all season, which is absolutely horrendous.
Equal to Son. Same as Son.
Basically, it's just
not basically
horrendous.
It's exactly. Yeah, and yet it just keeps happening. But there is something repeatable, I feel like, about the set pieces, right? Because it's like, I don't know. set pieces are complicated. It's probably a part of football that's like undervalued, underexamined, and I think teams are starting to get smarter with them in general. But they keep doing the same thing with just a flick at the near post, whether it's Dyer, it was Longley this week, other guys. And Kane just gets a fucking header from 1 foot outside of the net, unmissable header. It's happened multiple times. Yeah. Like a fucking... And headers are always low XG, and these headers are still half an XG or higher. All of them.
Yeah, I mean, it's the
it's
same
just clearly
thing.
Repeatable. Like, it's just happening.
It's the same thing where we see these teams doing zonal shit, and they put some little tiny cunt on Kane, and he loses them a little bit in the run up, and he just finds that space and gets inside of them and cuts inside and gets near far posts. It's pathetic. It's as though teams don't expect it to happen.
I know.
And it just keeps happening. And I do agree. The set piece coach is a big deal because we've spent almost a decade watching Kane. He's never been threatening on set pieces. He's like really
defending set pieces. He was always good. That's about it. Yeah.
But offensively on set pieces, he usually doesn't even come near attempts. I mean, he just kind of fake jumps, like isn't in there. Like,
yep.
I would be actually interested. I have no idea how many goals he's scored with his head on set pieces, like in his career. But
yeah, I have no idea. Yeah, I'll try and look it up.
But yeah, I mean, obviously you have that. Even though it seems unrepeatable, it's whatever. Like we're grasping at straws here, and yes, the numbers are crazy in terms of the pens and the headers and whatever. But it's just he keeps doing it, and we have a few games left, and he's just doing the thing. So he seems like a no-brainer to get points to me in the next few. I just don't understand how we don't have him. Like we've been saying this for a while, and we still just refuse to bring him in.
Yeah, I mean, you should just double move him in.
I'm a fucking idiot.
You're gonna hit him in, yeah. They had 8 set piece goals last season. They have 7 already this season.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Not fucking bad, and it is the reason they have the points on the board. On the other side of the ball was Newcastle, though, who were very competitive, very even game. I thought. All the questions about Miggy. We fucking bashed Miggy for 10 straight minutes like a few pods ago, and here we are. He just scores every game. Side said, when are you bringing in Miggy the truth Almiron? Danny said, such low ownership of Almiron. He's about 67 points for a 5.5 million-ish mid. Is he maybe the number one overlooked asset? He frees up so much money in midfield. Seems like a bloody good differential also. Parkes said Almiron's the second highest scorer in the game, despite him objectively being a bad player, an incredibly fucking strange looking human. At 5'4", do we punt for the remaining fixtures till the World Cup over an asset like Eze, for example? So just, other guys in his bracket, I guess. And then Tio, with the final question, he said, can we learn anything from the Almiron hauls? Was it just one of those random things, or could we have seen anything there and jumped on? Is it too late to take advantage? And what the fuck are we doing here? He's just like shooting 6 times, scoring every game, like 10 pointers for fun. It's 3 double-digit hauls in the last 5.
Yeah. I mean, it's a tough one because he's the kind of player who's he sort of reminds me of like Trincao last season, right? We have these players that we watch play who have obvious like skills, right? Like they have a lot of really good skills. They're clearly very technically proficient, and they have a lot about them. A lot of times though we watch that just completely fall flat on its face, and that's kind of what's happened to him in his career so far. The Newcastle guy, and I've been thinking about Almiron a bit for the last couple of weeks, and the Newcastle guy on the Friday show, or whatever the fuck, who just I was listening to it earlier. Yeah, I mean, he made a couple really good points that kind of like made me kind of take another step back, just to point out like that the team is not managed by Steve Bruce anymore or Rafa Benitez anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, these are the managers that Almiron has played under, and Almiron has been playing out of position his whole time that he's been in the league.
Yeah.
And now, you're seeing him play in a 4-3-3 on the right wing with, trips behind. That right side is just very, and Bruno G in, all of a sudden there's good service, there's good defensive cover. He's not playing, as a cam with donkeys all over the place, having to do the job of many. There's certainly and we've watched him miss chances for fun since he came to the Premier League. So, yes, we were putting a lot of stock in the 6,000 minutes of football that we watched, like we should, because we're 7,000. I mean, it's many thousands of minutes of football have taught us this is not an FPL pick. This is not a player here. But he's proving us wrong. I'm happy to say I'm wrong when we're seeing something like this happen, and we could just be seeing a player flourish, where he has had a lot of these kind of underlying pieces that, you want to see in a footballer. And now he's being put in a position with, good colleagues around him to have it be brought out of him. And maybe he's pressing less, on himself, pressuring. Maybe he's really finally settling in after a few years. It's, you could look at a lot of other outside factors to tell you the story or paint the picture in this way. But, the fact is, right, like you said, his stats are good and he's playing in an attacking position. Does the team create a ton of open play chances? No, but it's a good team. They're solid. They do create some chances. And, Callum is, a good forward for having someone play off him. We saw Josh King get a lot of good returns when they played together in their pomp. He's able to lay it off and he's able to allow other players to run in on him and behind him and such. So, he has good understandings with a lot of his teammates. He looks like, it's still just we only have a few games where we're seeing this happen. Yeah. But, there's certainly, I think, hope, for the future that he could keep some shit up. I mean, he's 5'4", so, right, if you're 5'4", you don't have to do much.
Right.
What do you see with Almiron?
Yeah, I mean, what's funny is that, we actually have so much data on him because you mentioned the thousands of minutes, but even the MLS season where they fucking, were gods and he was the best player in MLS or whatever. I don't really follow MLS. The reason he got a transfer, he had 12 goals, 11 assists that year. Even that year, he was way under his XG. I mean, so we have so many minutes to confidently be this is a below average finisher. And that's usually not something that changes. I think that where a lot of our skepticism comes from, and my skepticism is still there, by the way, is it's unlikely for someone to just turn into a superstar out of nowhere. And that is what he's doing this year, right? He's putting up monster XG, monster shot numbers. That shit just doesn't really happen. So do I think he's going to sustain it? I still don't. But obviously for now, he's, in form and everything he shoots is a goal. Every shot he takes is a goal. And, he's putting up a big XG. And so, it is what it is. I think it's just one of those FPL things. We kind of haven't had one in maybe 2 seasons where there's just this huge bandwagon on a guy that neither of us believe in who scores 100 points and then everyone sells him and we're just sitting here with our dicks in our hand haha, we told you he wasn't going to be a fucking 20 goal scorer. And they're just and everyone else in FPL is yeah, well, we sold him when he stopped scoring, so it doesn't matter, points in hand is better than the bush type of thing.
Right.
The lesson that we used to have for this sort of thing was just fucking get him and then just have a short leash because he's probably going to turn into more of what he has always been.
Sort of like Rodrigo earlier on the season.
Yeah, sort of like Rodrigo. And when he starts doing that, you just have to have a short leash for him or start benching him. He's cheap enough to bench and just go from there. I think that's the lesson to take. It's just, I don't know. It's hard when we have so much. Usually this player isn't someone that we have this much, time watching, right? It's usually not. We have 6,000 minutes of this guy being bad. Now, all of a sudden, he's getting his points. It's usually their first season in the league or something like that. And we're just no, this isn't possible,
Yeah. And, this, a lot of times for us too, right? We see players and we're okay, they should be doing better than this. There are a lot of reasons why they're failing. And if they were in a better situation or a better position, we could see them flying. And we never had that feeling about Almiron ever, not even a little bit. But, this is where he is right now in his career this season is he is playing right wing 4-3-3, consistent team, everything set up, So I agree with you in terms of using the words expect or likely, fine.
Right.
But I think there is a lot to buy in here. You know, I do think that
I mean,
he's got a lot going for him on this.
This is the player that they thought they were buying. I mean, obviously, he's not going to be this good.
Right.
That's like not possible. But if he goes back to being a below average finisher, but he's still getting this much shots and this much XG, he's still an amazing 5-4 pick, right? So like the season in Atlanta, and I don't MLS, you know, whatever. It's a fucking piss take, that league. But, you know, he got over 4 shots per 90 in that game. Like, I mean, in that season. And, you know, he's putting up fucking 0.48 XG per 90, you know, like, that's who they thought they were buying, attacking player. And I think the point does stand that, you know, Bruce and fucking Rafa and Graham Jones and nightmare. It's hard. It's hard to play that way. And Eddie has always kind of been a good attacking manager, right? Yeah. I feel like he always gets more out of the lesser attackers that he has. You know, like Fraser's best career years, King's best career years, Brooks, Callum, like the list goes on of guys who like never really reach those heights ever again post Eddie, you know, so.
And, you know, I mean, this is, I guess, a deeper dive, but, you know, I would expect, you know, we're talking about his finishing rate and, you know, above, below. I mean, he is getting in the box and closer to goal more now in this position. I mean, he hasn't done in the Premier League, you know, historically. So, you know, maybe, you know, right, I could see the scene where it's, he's not a above average finisher because he's taking, you know, shots from pot shots and further away from goal.
Right.
I take it that's not how it works necessarily with XG and stuff, but you know, there is something where like he's for the bulk majority of his, you know, life and his season taking pot shots. So when he does get those few gilt edged chances, he fucking absolutely shits himself.
I think
and now he's getting more repeatable good chances, so he maybe can relax more on them and say,
I was going to say
I'm gonna
maybe
miss some, but it's
maybe
okay.
it's less the fact that it's like closer because that, like you said, is accounted for in XG. But I feel like we've never even really seen him on the right, and he's the most one-footed fucking player I've ever seen in my life. He only has a left foot. Yeah. Maybe that's, you know, the unlocking is like, because you saw even just the game against, I mean, the goal against the Spurs, right? Like he gets in there, he's able to open his body up, sort of like in an Antony sort of way, and just hit the fuck out of it. And maybe getting him those specific positions in those specific spots is really what's like unlocking the goals. But I don't know. It's one of those that like you always say, you know, the whole season's a small sample size. It'll be really interesting to look, you know, months from now, like where did Miggy finish this season? Right. You know, did he have 15 goals or did he have 9? I don't know. But it's, you know, he's fucking balling. Newcastle are good.
Yeah,
you know?
But when it comes to, you know, if you're shopping in this bracket, I think it's either him or Saka, probably.
Yeah, Saka just keeps scoring, huh?
He keeps scoring. You know, I mean, it's another one, right? Where it took, for me, a while, but, you know, we keep watching these games and it's like, it's not a joke. He's not a DM anymore. He's just
he's not a DM at all.
Yeah.
He's a fucking free 8 in the second best team in the league.
And he's, I think, a really interesting comp to Eze because they sort of have similar roles, but that's where kind of like the team makes a big difference, I think. Like Arsenal are just much better and much more consistent home or away. And he also does kind of like get in the box a little bit more. He just feels like a better FPL, like a more mature FPL pick, if that makes sense. Yeah. Where Eze does like have, you know, 40 minutes could go by. I'm watching my team. I'm like, where has he been? Like, what's he doing? You know, he gets lost, and we're just so volatile in terms of our, you know, performances game to game. So I do think I would prefer Saka to Eze right now in this price bracket. But, you know, I mean, there are good picks in this range, right? I mean, all three of these are good options, you know.
Absolutely. It's going to be...
It's interesting. I'm interested to really see what the meta is going to be after the World Cup.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It's going to be really fun to, like, reset our teams with all of these good value picks, not that many premium picks we want, and like sort of go from there. You can't not have Mo
after Egypt's out though, and all that rest, right?
Maybe, yeah. Right? I mean,
great pick.
I'll see what the pictures are. Let's see what the pictures are. Pictures are really good, yeah. So I'll probably have them. But this was, I wanted to bring up Voldy's question because it was kind of on that note. But he said, of the cheap mids that hauled this weekend, which interests you the most? Because every cheap mid in the fucking game hauled ass, you know, this week. So, you know, you had Bailey, Iwobi, Shaka, everyone has Pereira, I assume, but Miggy, Bilva, Gordon, Harvey Barnes, Trossard, Rodrigo. There's so many picks in this range all of a sudden. And, Bailey's the one that makes me like the most happy because he's finally like freed from the chains. But yeah, I mean, I still think, Saka, Pereira, incredible picks. Very, very confident in being able to hold them long term. But I don't know. I mean, do you have thoughts on any of these other guys? I mean, Iwobi looks good, but he's an assist guy.
Yeah,
I don't really want
yeah,
that.
I mean,
he's not a pick.
Yeah, not particularly. I think we've kind of covered them, and we've talked about this bracket for a spell.
Yeah.
I think, you just kind of throw your dart. We have a few games.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess maybe you want to let the fixtures kind of make the decision for you a little bit more.
And that's the only reason I think the Everton guys are even on the list is because no one has their fixtures, right? I mean, the 3-0 to Palace was obviously more than shocking, but, they still have at Fulham, home Leicester, at Bournemouth, so it's good.
Yeah, I mean, they could play,
but they just don't really attack.
They could play that they could play those three teams for the rest of the season. I wouldn't have Iwobi in my team.
Me neither.
So
or Gordon.
That's fine. But, there's still, good options in this region. Yeah, like Barnes, he's been doing, Leicester been playing a lot better. You just pick whoever. All good.
Yep.
Except for Iwobi.
Let's just jump around to some other questions. Nosferatu said, Wilf and Martinelli versus Eze and Saka.
What is it? What's the question?
Wilf and Martinelli versus Eze and Saka. So, Palace and Arsenal, which combo is best? Probably Wilf Martinelli, right?
This is Eze and Saka. Yeah, but probably Saka and Martinelli, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
For sure.
Got it.
Sean said, now that we all have a bunch of cheap shitters in defense, what do you guys look at when determining who to start / bench given similar fixtures? I struggled picking one of Gahey, Trips, and Dyer to bench in game week 13. So obviously I need help with this because I started Gahey and, the toughest away fixture in the league at Everton and got punished for it. But I don't know. What do you look at?
Well, I mean, home and away is absolute number one to me. I just always put so much more of a value on the home fixtures for clean sheets than the aways. So, that right off the bat is the biggest thing. And then I think next would be the attacking potential, I feel like, in the fixture, right? I mean, assuming that aways are not cleans, which is generally what I do when I look at it, I kind of see it like as a home, I was like, okay, that could be a clean. And if it's an away, I'm like, probably not a clean. So I need some attacking threat or I'm not going to feel too good about that pick. It looks like a 2 to me.
Right.
I mean, there are obviously exceptions, but, those are kind of the two like heuristics that I use when I'm trying to determine, which guy to start or bench. And that's pretty much it. I mean, it doesn't go much past that, right? I mean, and obviously the home and away thing, that also factors in like the team and like, the clean sheet potential I feel like there are. But, I guess the closer calls tend to be to me is like, if they're like both away and player A has a little bit more attacking threat, but a little bit worse clean chance in my head, and player B has a little less attacking threat and a little more clean chance, like that's when it gets really close, right?
Yeah.
And when
and there's no perfect science. Like
no, absolutely not.
Nowhere near, but gambling odds, whatever you want to look at that makes you feel warm and fuzzy inside, they're not always right. Very far from always right. But you just find something that you kind of believe in and hope you get lucky. I mean, there's a lot of luck in the game. We're not gonna like unveil some fucking crazy stat that no one's looked at before that predicts clean sheets. Like that's just not a thing. Like cleans are luckier than fucking goals.
Anything goals, yeah. And I mean that wasn't the question, to be fair, right? It's I think just like what is our process about looking at it, and you have to use a lot. Also, I think just instinct too of like after you play for years, and you get, well, in my case, I got worse as I continue to play, but you kind of see like things kind of overlap. And like, when you have these, some teams that are better, they're going on the road, you're like, okay, like I like, okay, United are been playing better, like they have a road, is this really going to be a clean, like, do I believe that, or is it just going to, those types of things? And you used all that, because when you make your decision based on your process, whether you get a good or bad outcome, points or no points, that's really all you can do and feel good about, how you're making the choices. So
absolutely. Trust the process. Liam said, it seems that home field advantage is back in full force this year. How should we adjust our pre-match reads and assessment of teams like Brentford that are so different from home away? So Kaylee tweeted out a stat that home field advantages in the Premier League has been crazy this season. Home teams averaging 1.8 points per match and 0.9 for away teams. Last several seasons, excluding the plague year, was 1.6 home, 1.2 away. So far, for whatever reason this year, it's been extremely home slanted. Just kind of reinforces what you were just saying, I guess. I mean, like, if there are 50-50 calls, maybe home is the deciding factor. I don't know if there's that much else we can read into it aside from maybe when we're reading the fixture lists, just treating that as a more important factor, right? Like, Everton have 3 really good fixtures, but 2 of them are away,
which I think we've been doing.
Yeah, I think
we had that
do
little,
that, but maybe other people don't do that.
Okay. Because, we had this little, I remember, like, maybe it was last or 2 pods ago, where it was like, there was like the 4 game weeks, and there were like 3 aways and 1 home, or 3 homes and 1 away, where it's like, okay, well, that's a big difference, even though they're all good fixtures or whatever.
I think it was Chelsea, right? It was like, they had a bunch of good ones.
Leicester had a lot of good aways.
Yeah, it was something like that. And we were like, actually, these are bad, Yeah,
and I mean, I don't know, also with that, in terms of, okay, there's a bigger disparity league-wide, fine. But for us, FPL-wise, that doesn't really mean anything. Like, I think we're looking at, like, this game between these 2 teams. So, you want to look at, like, okay, well, Brentford is Brentford. So it doesn't matter what all the other 19 teams do home or away. Like, what do Brentford do? And look at that. It's like, or Villa or Newcastle, right? And say, okay, well, Newcastle, home Villa, like, what have they been doing this year? Like, what do I expect to happen this weekend? Right. And looking at it more contextually that way. But, home, that's no different, right? Whether the number is 1.8 to 0.9 or 1.5 to 1.3, ever since we've been playing this game, from watching, it's like the home team has an advantage. We know that.
Totally.
So,
that's just it's baked into gambling numbers for a reason. They don't just fucking make that shit up. But it is staggering when you look at it. And I think people like probably haven't really looked that much at it. But, people think of the worst teams in the league, NFO, Bournemouth, Leicester, whatever, like, away, they've just all conceded billions of goals and score none. Like NFL has 1 away goal on the season. Bournemouth has 6-6. Brentford has 6-6 away goals. But at home, NFL has 7. Bournemouth still only has 4, but Brentford has 12 at home versus 6 on the road. Like, it's pretty drastic. So I think people get baited in a lot with, like, an away green fixture for their guy, or maybe a prospective transfer, and it's like, you should probably look a little further into that.
Yeah, that's fair.
Al said, do we have our Villa back? Any potential picks now that Stevie's gone? Dude, what a fucking game that was.
Yeah, that was wild.
It was
so funny, dude. Fucking Dare went in to, like, brush his teeth or something as the game began, and he missed the goal. And I was
the Bailey goal? Or the
Bailey goal. It was like in the first second.
Just an absolute
the Ebenings is back, right?
Yeah, Unai. I don't think Villa fans are going to be happy with that, but that's like a different story. Yeah,
that's another story. I mean,
he plays some unwatchable shit.
Oh, yeah. They'll have like the brief honeymoon where they're convincing themselves that it's okay to win ugly, and then they'll have a bad 8-game stretch, and they will be calling for his head.
Yes,
that is exactly how that will go.
Fully agree.
In terms of picks, with the Ebenings returning, gotta like that for the defense, right?
Yeah, I mean, to be
They're
fair,
all so cheap
to Gerrard, the defense has been fine all season. Yeah, literally all season they've been completely fine. People are like shocked that they're good on some of the like charts that I retweet and stuff like that. Like, defense has been fine all season. They just can't attack.
I mean, just because they only have 3 clean sheets on the season doesn't mean the defense has been bad.
Exactly.
They've let up a lot of 1-goal games. They've been generally tight.
Yep.
And they've had Kamara out now for a little while. So yeah, defense. I think defense would be the place to invest. But when we're looking at like caretaker, blah blah blah, at Newcastle, home Man United, at Bright, just fucking leave it alone.
No thanks. Don't fucking pick any of their players.
Yeah, wait a little while.
We'll talk about it in December when we're looking
it is very nice to have Stevie gone, just because it makes them potentially watchable again until Unai's ebony honeymoon phase ends.
Yeah,
and they become unwatchable. I'm not happy that they hired him.
You're not happy
at all. No, I mean, we've seen this brand all over the place in Arsenal, in Europe, in Spain. He's a great manager, but I don't like watching his team play.
It's a nightmare to watch them play, and I think that like Villa fans are very excited and don't really remember that it's pulling your teeth out. I mean, every game is basically 45 minutes attacking, 45 minutes double-decker bus defending, and it's just like not a great job. Yeah. But anyway, Bill said, are there any other City defenders on option? Wow, I can't speak as usual. Are any other City defenders an option if you can't afford Cancelo? I feel like Laporte can have big upside if he gets a run of games now, but it still feels like a big if. Could he be worth a punt? Akanji also, low-key, played 90 in the last 5 matches in the Prem. I don't know. I guess people still don't have 3 City, which is pretty surprising to me, but yeah, you could punt on one of these guys, right?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, you're again looking at it. It's a punt. I mean, that's not like the most favorable place to be. They have at Leicester, home Fulham, home Brentford. That could easily be 3 clean sheets.
Yep.
Do you think that you can pick a non-Cancelo named defender who will play all 3 of those games? I personally don't.
I don't.
Therefore, I wouldn't want to be playing in this, in this sandbox. But if you think you can, I would probably put Akanji top of the list just because I think he's the best player.
And the flexibility is so huge. I mean, Laporte, I guess, also has the flexibility. Sometimes plays left back, but not like this, right?
And he played 90 minutes. He hasn't fucking played all year.
Yeah, no. So meanwhile, Akanji is just starting every fucking game. I think that means a lot to me. So, Jitterbug.
Yeah, I still just every game I watch him, I'm like, how is he playing on this team? I just don't get it.
I don't know, man. He's got to be like one of the most overrated center backs in the fucking world. I don't know.
It's crazy to me.
People put together their like team of the fucking year, World Cup best 11, and are like, Ruben Diaz, right? I'm like, what?
It's insane.
Jitterbug said DCL is Fulham, Leicester, and Bournemouth. Is it too early or is he on your radar? Aurelio followed up with the same. I mean, it was nice to see him score. He looks like old DCL, shout. But I don't know, man. I don't know. Is that where you want to go for 3 game weeks? I don't know.
I mean, he's not even cheap. He's $8 million. That pricing was fucking embarrassing. You're just taking a zoom out for a second, like how you're putting him in at 8 when he was just injured all year and the team doesn't function. Like the
team doesn't even attack.
He scored 16 goals and 6 assists 2 seasons ago. They put him at 8. He did what he did last year. He played 1,000 minutes, scored 5 goals, looked fucking absolute diabolical dog shit all season. They didn't drop his price. Same price.
Meanwhile, Tony started at 7. Callum started at 7.5.
It sucks. I mean, he should have been priced at 6.5. You put him at 6.5.
7-ish, yeah.
Yeah, maybe 7, but 7 in that max, region, whatever.
Yeah,
not a pick. No, thank you.
Every transfer you make right now is basically a punt because there's 3 game weeks left. Hits are bad. Hits are worse than ever. 3 game weeks. You can't fucking predict everything. No, worse than ever. No,
better than ever.
Careful, worse than ever. And so I don't know. If someone fucking Voldy and Joanna bring in DCL, I'm not going to be like, you're a fucking idiot. Because I think
will be like that.
Most picks are just punts basically right now in my eyes.
Yeah.
Outside of the obvious best picks.
Is everything a punt? If you think about it.
All the world is not punts. All the world is jails and churches.
What about homes?
True.
Where do they fall in that?
Yeah, I don't know. Just quoting Rage Against the Machine for fun. Bill said, who's the best striker after Haaland and Kane? Jesus, Tony, Mitro, Callum, Gloves, DCL, etc. Who do you like? hard for me to go away from Mitro. He looked bad for literally one game when he was hurt, and he's just
hey, what about the games I had him when he didn't score?
He didn't look
games
bad.
Were those?
He just didn't score.
Didn't score. Look bad. Game week 8 from NFO to game week 10. Those were the games I owned. That's when I owned him.
Yeah, I mean, he played 89 against NFO, didn't look bad, got hurt, didn't play. Now he's back. He's fit. Just dong every game.
I don't think I can go to Mitro ever again in my life. I'm
Marco
looking at this
Silva
game. Dude,
is literally actually a fantasy gold mine.
He's blanked in 4 game weeks all year, and I've owned Mitro for exactly 3 game weeks all year, and it's been the ones that he has blanked in.
Yeah.
Can't have this on my team
That's FPL,
anymore.
baby.
Unbelievable.
But in all seriousness, I mean, Marco Silva is a fucking gold mine for FPL because he's a fucking psycho. He is all out attack every game, doesn't matter. And, that's good for FPL because all their guys are cheap.
Yeah, fair. But he did look shit the other game. The one
there was the first game back when he was he couldn't move.
Yeah, look shit.
Yeah, and I think that was Bournemouth.
Yeah.
And then, the next game he was back.
Normal.
They fucking end this game again, So I don't know, what third striker do you like then, if you don't like Mitro?
Well, I don't like him, personally, but I would recommend him. Yes. If that's, we could separate those two things.
Yeah,
out, right?
yeah,
I think we're fair. That's fair.
We can do that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he's showing continually that he just fucking shits a goal every game like Kane, Yep. It's pretty good.
Sunut said, do we get KDB over Foden? I mean, KDB has always been better than Foden, right? He's just more expensive.
This is not more expensive. It's like an extra play. I mean, it's $4 million. I don't know how that's the question.
Yeah, I don't really know either.
It's like, why is that the question? Like, who else? What's the other player in this?
Yeah, I don't know.
In this equation. It's
probably
not even one
is
player.
Still
it's like 2
a
players.
Great pick. He didn't start one game. No big deal, guys. He's still a great pick. But Kev is better, obviously. It's $4 million better. Whatever
but
it
also,
is.
they're both great.
They're both great. Yeah, I don't really get it. Graham said, if Solanke's out until the World Cup, who do you want to replace him? Would you consider going back to someone in the Archer price bracket and spending elsewhere? I have such a hard time getting a 5th mid because Pereira's so good.
Yeah, you could just pretend that you have 14 players and you just start Pereira.
He's home Everton this week. It's like a great fucking start. Yeah. I mean, he's at City and home Man United in 15-16. You probably don't want to start him in those.
Yeah.
But yeah, for this week, great start.
I mean, but looking at the cheap forward bracket, is there, Mitro's not too far away, right? I mean, how much? 6'8"? It's $1 million. It's not that close. But is there anyone in the 6'5" and under that you would tip here, or do you think it's all just too much shit?
It's looking real bad.
Scam lad.
I guess. I don't
At
know.
Man United, home Palace, home Leicester.
This could be a lot worse.
But he's the same price as Mitro.
Yeah, so I'd rather get Mitro. Yeah, and there's no one really cheaper than Dom that I like.
Right.
Versus there are a million mids that are cheaper that we do like, so...
Right.
Yeah, I guess that does make sense from that perspective. Start Pereira this week and get someone else for the last 2, something like that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Mr. Alf, why are we targeting NFO, Bournemouth, Fulham, and Leicester, who have become good, whilst Wolves are by far the worst team in the league? And then Alex followed up with kind of a longer, more macro question. He said, what do you guys think of the idea that there's no whipping boys this season? Bournemouth, Forest, Fulham, Leicester, Villa, all targetable, but none seem as bad or open as recent teams like Bielsa's Leeds, Norwich, or West Brom. Obviously not necessarily important for captaincy, because obviously we're Holland every week, but what do you two see as the implications of this for targeting for other attackers relative to both the game week 14 through 16 upside picks and long-term? Would love to hear your thoughts. Good question.
It's a good question.
Really good.
No, well, what do you see? How are you looking at that?
Well, I mean, I just kind of I'm fresh off falling flat on my face with that, right? I went Sinistera, totally a punt. It's not like I think he's some fucking god FPL pick or anything like that, but part of the reason I went for him is at Leicester, home Villa, two top 3 or 4 best fixtures in the league, right? Like that. Those are games where I expect goals and I expect openness, and it didn't come through for me. Leicester aren't really good for any of these cleans, so I don't really buy that. But yeah, I mean, it probably does mean that patience, it does sort of feel like patience is better than ever this season. Like patience right now this season so far has been the best asset for the best managers, I think, because transfers aren't really working that well, which is probably because of this reason, right? Like going for that high upside, going for that fucking, Fulham Forest game or something like that is just not hitting the same way that scoring 6 against Leeds and 4 against Norwich was in years past. So, probably means sitting tight more, rolling more transfers, using your depth. Pereira is like one of the best 4 or 5 mids ever in the history of the game. More of that and less of like hitting, going for the upside, definitely don't go for a differential cap, because it doesn't matter who City's playing. They score 3 and Haaland scores most of the 3. So, that's kind of where I'm at, I guess.
Okay.
What do you think?
I don't know. I mean, I think it's teams go through like phases of play, and with NFO, right? They were open all over the show for the first 6, right? And so I think it's a matter of being able to more quickly snap yourself out of, what has been happening recently into what like is happening right now. Right. Like that game when NFO fucking parks it and stops doing mad shit, playing with fucking 6 of their players in the other half, like the whole game. Okay, this isn't a targetable offensive fixture. However, it's still NFO, and they still play Steve Cook at center back. So you're always going to have in the back of your mind, like, okay, I know that they're not as open as Leeds Bielsa, but this is still NFO with bad players playing mostly in all the positions. Yeah. So even though they're playing a more solid style of football, they could still lose 4-0 to a good team. I mean, no one's going to make qualms about that. So, I don't know. I mean, it hasn't worked yet, in terms of targeting these bad teams. And Fulham, right? This is a different case. Fulham, offensively, for attackers against Fulham, absolutely targetable.
Great targetable fixture. I was going to bring up Fulham.
Even just putting these teams in the same category is not fair, right? Each team is very deserving of being in their own separate category. Yep. Bournemouth, right? They bent over against Liverpool, bent over against City, fired that fucking piece of shit fighter pilot with the 3 stripes on his fucking arm, got someone who actually wants to coach the players that are there and work with the workers, and they turned it around. But we're making no mistakes about this. The players on Bournemouth's team are fucking bad, generally speaking. So, okay, they've been keeping it tight. They've been, having a tight ship, but they're a couple of slips away or a couple of little bips and bops from just getting killed 4-5-0. I mean, this is still the DNA of these teams with these squads and these capabilities, So, you're still going to be playing FPL to target them. Whether or not it always works out is, that's neither here nor there. It's not like, oh, okay, well, they're not targetable anymore. So, I guess when my team plays a good team, then that's just as good. It's not, right? Yeah. So how do you action that? I don't think you really can or should. You still do see, a team like Fulham. Like if your team is playing Fulham or Leeds, Leeds may be a little different category. They play 30 minutes of high intensity where a team can attack them. And then there's around 60 minutes of the game where they can't do anything and they can get fucking destroyed, right? But, you still have teams that you want your attackers to be playing. And, we've only had fucking like 9, 10 games or 10 or whatever games, right?
Very early in the season.
So we still have 2/3 of the season to go. I think it is, from those kinds of standpoints, I'm still playing the game somewhat similarly, just to, worse results.
I totally agree with what you're saying. I also want to throw in, like, a lot of this to me is also just like game state. And I know that that's, sort of a very broad, vague statement. But if you just look at NFL Liverpool, for example, right? Like, up until the NFO goal, it was just a double-decker bus, and Liverpool just had like 80% of the ball and all the shots and whatever. There's a world where like that Van Dijk header goes in, or the fucking Carvalho chance goes in.
The wheels fall off.
They eventually at home are going to try and go for a point. right? There's no point in just conceding and just forfeiting the game. Eventually, these teams will open up, right? Like if you go up early against Bournemouth, they're not going to just double-decker park the rest of the game. Like that's just not reality, especially at home, right? And we saw that a little bit from West Ham today. I mean, they went up, on a fucking... don't get me started on the fucking handball situation there, but I can't talk on that. But for the rest of the game, I mean, West Ham just kind of had their way with them. Like it was just Bournemouth trying to be not themselves and doing it very badly, and West Ham just like repeatedly getting into dangerous positions. Yeah, they only scored a pen late, but the game didn't really. That wasn't what the game was. That's not how the game played out. So I do think that like. As always with these buses, and we've seen it for years with like City and Liverpool, it's like if they score early, anything's possible. Yeah. Like if City score in the 10th minute against any of the teams, I expect 5.
Yeah.
But, if the team is keeping it tight and it's 0-0 on 60, fucking good on them. They probably got a little lucky and it's a tight one and you missed that window of opportunity. But that doesn't mean there was no opportunity.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. One final thing on this. Wolves were like, I've never seen Wolves play like that in my life. They were flooding men forward and playing like they were, the Harlem Globetrotters. So
what was that game, dude? Can we just I mean, I've never seen anything like that. Leicester scored
it was actually amazing.
First 4 shots. They scored a goal. It was 4-0 with 4 shots.
Wolves were
Bangers.
Destroying them for a large percentage of that game.
Yeah.
If they play like this for the next few, they're going to give up many goals. Just many goals. So if you have Tony, be happy about that. Is all I'm saying. But we have to see. They have the caretakers and all the things. Everyone's
I don't know how they're
turning that job down. But that was just like another thing of like, okay, you think like, oh, Wolves just they're tight, like they don't really attack, they just defend. Like, is this a good fixture or not? Like, literally right now, it's a fucking really good fixture for an attacker. Not as good for. I don't know how they didn't score. I mean, we know how they didn't score. Their fucking players are terrible. But, they created more chances in this game than maybe they have done all season combined.
I mean, they had 2.3 XG on FBref. That's fucking high.
Yeah,
the shots are 23-7.
Yeah, I mean, it's so, you look at that and it's, you're licking your lips from an attacking standpoint facing them right now.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see if it sticks. Are they hiring someone or...
Everyone's just saying no, I think, so far. So we'll see.
I would.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. So, all right. Let's jump to our teams, I guess. Wrap it up.
Sure.
Ish.
And we have a My Life coming, right? Yeah.
Yeah. We have back to normal week. So that's, that's a very good thing to have. Yeah. Here, I'll pull up my team here. I don't know. It's fucking Monday. I don't know what I'm doing yet. This is maybe an example of what we were just talking about, though, right? Sinistera at Liverpool. Don't want to start him, but Pereira's home Everton. So, like, what's the transfer I'm doing there that's better than just starting Pereira home Everton?
Well, you're stuck with Solanke, though, so that throws a spanner.
As of now, I wouldn't be starting either of them. I'd be starting Gahey home Southampton, starting one of the Spurs wingbacks, hoping to get that right again, starting Tripp, starting Cancelo. Starting my 4 mids, my 4th being Pereira, and starting Holland and Mitro.
Yeah. I mean, if there isn't a player that you actually really like instead of Sinistera, then I think
that's
that you should do that.
Yeah, so I'm looking at probably saving.
But isn't it most likely that, they have Champions League, I guess, right? Okay.
What? Who?
For Spurs, I'm thinking it's obviously going to be Royale and Perisic.
I hope not, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the
But I'm saying that is their first choice pairing.
Yeah, maybe. I have a feeling that Doc might be first choice.
Over Royale.
Yeah.
I don't think that at all.
Yeah, I mean, I'm putting a lot of stock into Conte bigging him up, Conte hugging him, Conte talking about how good he was, how he's finally fit, how he's back to last season levels.
I don't care about any of that. Yeah, I think Royale is definitely first choice still. But even regardless, how are you playing that roulette?
Yeah, I mean, I chose this path of fucking chaos, so I'm just on it for now. But yeah, I'm just gonna base it sort of on what the vibes are, who they play in Champions League, what I think is gonna happen, and worst case, I get a fucking auto sub or a short appearance, a 1-pointer, and most of my fucking players get 1 point anyway. This week this week was actually unbelievable. My points were 0. I had 2 zeros. I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 2-pointers. I had Mitro 6-pointer, Kev 9-pointer, and Holland. Just like crazy. Sorry, what were you saying? Start Sinistera?
Yeah, I don't think that's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, he's first on my bench.
Do that. I would probably rather do that than throw a dart at Doc or Sess.
I don't know, but it's at Bournemouth. That's the thing.
Yeah, but you get no points if they don't play, I mean,
I know, but I'm saying, like, if I nail it, I think it's a really high chance of a clean with, potentially more there.
All right, well, we'll go there next week. Right now, I'm thinking, like, if he does Perisic and Royale midweek, which I expect, Royale's probably much more likely to be able to play 2 in a row, so then maybe you do Sess. And he'll get you 0 points when he starts, like he just did.
It's going to be great. But yeah, so we'll get there later. And then, obviously I'm capping Mo over Holland. So that's,
Mo over Holland, no question about that.
Dude, people were fucking mad when I was tweeting about, like, that was just a really fucking stupid play. They were like, that wasn't stupid. I'm like, okay, brother.
Okay.
Yeah, whatever. Right. And then your team.
So, whatever. I don't know. I might do.
You don't know?
Fucking who cares?
You're hitting Mo out?
Maybe I'll save. I don't know.
Okay.
We'll talk about it on the next one.
We'll figure that out on Thursday. I got 1 anus to slap, 1 new sign up. Caleb Seekins, get in there, slap the ass. I think that's about it, man.
All right. Fun.
Any last words?
See you tomorrow,
dude. Check us out at FMLFPL.com. Follow us on Twitter at FMLFPL. Support us at FMLFPL. Subscribe, rate, mute.